This is Kevin Olson, President of the DEA.
And this is Lynn Glickman, Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources. Over the past couple of years, we have spent quite a bit of time working together. Specifically, we've spent a lot of time working together in the area of PERA.
In 2010, then Governor Pat Quinn signed into legislation the Performance Evaluation Reform Act, also known as PERA. Part of this legislation was about incorporating student growth into teacher evaluation. By the way, throughout this video you'll hear us talk about teachers. When we do that, we're really talking about anyone with a professional educator license. In any case, the intent of that legislation was really to make sure that two pieces were included into teacher evaluations. The professional practices, so think Danielson, and then also the results or implications of those professional practices. That would be the student growth piece.
The law requires each district to create a joint committee made up of teachers and administrators in order to incorporate their student growth model into their evaluation system. It also requires that each district follow a strict timeline. Some districts throughout the state have already had to have full implementation of the student growth model, but here in District 21, our timeline starts in the 2016-2017 school year.
Our joint committee, comprised of 7 DEA members and 7 administrators, has been working for the past year and a half to create a plan that we believe will work very well for our school district. Throughout the process, we've communicated with the entire community through emails and through very well-written DEA Beacon articles.
Throughout this process, our committee has remained focused on not only the parameters of the law, but also on creating relevant and useful assessment opportunities for our students and our staff.
The Joint Committee, made of 7 DEA representatives and 7 administrators, committed to a number of principles to guide our work through this process. These principles are: we commit to including assessment experiences that are relevant and useful for our students. We commit to a process that is clear, easy to understand, supports collaboration, and is aligned to our instructional practices. We commit to supporting teachers through the process to help ease anxiety. We commit to continuing communication with DEA membership and administrators while the plan is built. We are proud that these principles truly came alive in both the discussions we had and the resulting plan that has been developed. The committee looks forward to working with all instructional staff members on ensuring that this process is used to truly improve our craft as teachers and, most importantly, student learning.
So as Lynn and Kevin were talking about, PERA has got the student growth component that we need to be considering now as well. As you can see from what we've got here, we have 70% of our whole in our professional evaluation cycle that's dedicated to professional practice and the Danielson rubrics. That most important piece that we're focused on every day, minute to minute, of improving our craft. In addition, we have the student growth piece, and that 30% is really going to be broken down into 2 pieces that we want to further explain. So as you can see in red, the first part of that is a type 1 or type 2 assessment. That's what's going to be categorized there. And it's going to be 80% of this 30% of student growth. The other portion is type 3, and it's going to be 20% of that student growth piece. And we'll define that in a little bit. But basically, type 3s are those things that we do every day, common assessments, team-based, really devoted to what we're doing every day. And our type 1, type 2 are what PERA determines as district-wide assessments, specific to our students, but we can think of them as scored outside of our district. And that's the difference between our type 1, type 2 and our the type 3 in the 20%. Now, when you think about our whole picture of this cycle, the one thing we really want you to keep in mind is although student growth might be a little scary at times, we have to think about a couple of things. Number one, the biggest piece to our evaluation process is really about our professional practice and where we're taking a look at those Danielson rubrics and thinking about how to improve our craft. But then when we think about the student growth piece, look at those percentages for just a moment and realize that when it comes to the type 1, type 2, and the type 3 assessments, this is really only 24% of the whole process for us with regard to our evaluation. And these type 3 pieces, these common assessments, the way that we're looking for growth for our students day in and day out, is really just 6% of our whole. So by far, where we're really putting our energies is in those day-to-day practices and the ways that we're improving our craft and really looking at the Danielson rubric. And then we're really seeing if that's paying off when we look at student growth for our students like we do every day.
According to the law, PERA has 3 different types of assessment. All of them are intended to measure student growth. The first category of assessments are called Type 1 assessments. These are district-wide assessments that are scored outside of the district. The second type of assessment is called a Type 2 assessment. This is a locally administered assessment within the district, and it takes place across a whole curricular area, subject area, and a grade level. This would be scored locally. The third and final type of assessment in PERA is called a Type 3 assessment. This is an assessment created by a team of teachers, and it's performance-based. It will be scored locally as well. When designing any assessment, it is important to consider reliability, validity, and fairness. We are excited to use Type 3 assessments to measure what our students know and are able to do, as well as develop our craft as teachers.
To provide a little more definition to the types of assessment. We know it's a lot of information, but when we look at type 1, type 2, we're going to define those as a district as our 80% of that student growth piece. And that's going to come from district-wide measures. It's going to come from combined school results. And it's really looking at MAP and Apprenda, the assessments that most of our students are taking locally and that are most appropriate for them. In addition, when we look at type 3 assessments, again that 20%, we know that we're looking at team-determined common assessments. The pieces you may already have in place or that your team may be taking a look at to really figure out what is it that we can really put together that's meaningful, will guide our instruction, and will help our students in their path toward greater achievement for themselves. And so those pieces together are making up our student growth.
A type 3 assessment is not something that you're doing in addition to your current practices. Rather, it's embedded in the high quality instruction that you're giving on a daily basis. Type 3 assessment design and data collection can be done as an individual and in a collaborative team. We're encouraging people to collaborate with their data collection and their assessment design. In an elementary school setting or an early childhood education setting, that could look like a group of teachers within the same grade level working on a type 3 assessment together, or it could mean a group of teachers across grade levels working on a common subject area, such as reading or math. In a middle school setting, a type 3 assessment team would be an academic team, could be a subject area team, reading, math, science, social studies. For an exploratory teacher in a middle school, it could be the exploratory team within the school or one exploratory subject area across multiple schools. The same could be true for specials teachers working in an elementary school setting.
While the use of Type 3 assessments for measuring student growth is now required by state law, the committee believes that we can leverage this change to continue to improve student learning and improve our work as teachers.